Jay Motty.
Jay Motty.
Jay Motty. What toll did your addiction have on your mental health?
Terrible toll, really. Any little noise I heard, I was convinced was old Bill coming to raid me. Became paranoid for so long, depressed, anxiety through the roof, to the point where you almost don't notice anymore because you're in it constantly.
See, how frequently were you using?
Every day. I reported for about 3 years when I was still using it. And I hid it. My colleagues are journalists, so they didn't know. I went down there to meet the police. They were doing like a press conference in the street. And I was drunk. I was on drugs. The coppers stood where you are to me. Can I have a volunteer to take the breathalyzer? And I've got loads of reporters and other police. Can you imagine? And I got nicked.
Elliott, Wald, addiction specialist. Coming clean with me.
Hello, I'm Elliott Wald, and welcome to another episode of Coming Clean with Me. And here today, my guest is Jay Motty. Jay Motty is here to discuss his addiction, recovery and sobriety. And Jay is co-owner and presenter of Manchester United's longest-running YouTube channel. Football commentator, superfan, podcaster, journalist, and he's been told the fifth most important person in his household. Welcome, Jay. How are you doing?
Thanks, Elliot. Thanks for having me on.
That's my pleasure. Jay, just take me back and tell me how it was like growing up in Salford.
It was all right. I mean, I moved to Salford. I was actually born down south.
Okay.
You wouldn't guess it from my accent.
No.
But when I was a baby, we moved to Salford, moved to Eccles, which, ironically, is where I live now. I've been everywhere. I've lived everywhere, but back in Eccles. And when I was growing up there, we didn't have much money. You know, I lived in different parts of Manchester. We're not like poverty-stricken or anything like that, but very working-class family. Not a lot of money, but a lot of love, you know.
Loving family.
A loving family. I grew up in a loving household. I had a good, close-knit set of friends as well. So I used to, you know, when I look back on my childhood, it's pretty fond memories, to be honest with you.
Nice. And when did you first start drinking, and what age did you introduce to drugs?
I started drinking from a very early age, you know, probably about sort of 13, 14.
How did that come about?
I think with friends at school, after school, sort of on a Friday or on a Saturday, I'd stay at my friend's house because I went to grammar school. So I passed an 11 plus exam when I was growing up. You did an 11 plus exam. I passed, and the nearest grammar school was a few miles away. So I had friends from school, and they lived a few miles away, so I'd stay at their house. So I had a couple of friends whose mum and dad used to let us stay over there, and then we'd go out at night, around the streets, around there on the weekend or whatever, drinking on the park, that kind of thing, and then stay at their house. So from about the age of 13, 14, I started drinking, and I noticed that I used to sort of drink a little bit more than my friends. I used to love drinking more than they did, and I'd carry on drinking sometimes when they'd stopped. So straight away there were signs there that this could be problematic. Looking back, you could probably see that this isn't just a 14, 15-year-old or whatever enjoying a drink on the park. There was something there already.
I think that's a common trait of people who have addictions, is they become very all or nothing mentalities. You know, and I think we carry that on through our lives with that all or nothing mentality. And what age did you start getting introduced to drugs?
Around a similar age, around 14, 15, I started smoking weed. That was what everyone did my age. A lot of friends did it. Pretty easy to get hold of as well. There was never much dramas there. And then around when I was 15, I started taking amphetamine, whiz as we called it.
Yeah. Base, was that speed base? Yeah. Dabbing it.
Yeah, dabbing it. It's horrible.
Tastes like soap.
It's horrible.
Not that I've tried it.
No, yeah, of course. But a horrible drug. And like, I remember I used to take it at school. I used to have it at school when we had PE. Be running around PE like a lunatic.
Wow.
Honestly, I know. And then I'd be coming down when I got home, and I'd just be sat in front of the telly, like feeling like, you know, feeling horrible.
Yeah.
But that sort of carried on once I left school. We used to go out raving, and then moved on to ecstasy. And this is around the mid-90s. So ecstasy had a bit of a bad reputation around it. I don't even remember. But you had, I think it was Leah Betts.
Yeah, Leah Betts. I remember that.
Around that time.
That's when the police clamped down, really, wasn't it?
Clamped down, yeah. And you're hearing horror stories and this scaremongering and don't take ecstasy, you can die, this, that and the other. Didn't put me off, as you'd expect from someone who's...
Well, you think you're invincible when you're young.
100%. I was 15, 16, 17, whatever, taking pills, going out raving. And again, though, my friends would be sort of going home or whatever the next day, and I'd be staying out all weekend and just getting on it all weekend. Binges, man.
Binging,
proper binges, even at the age of sort of 16, 17. I remember I'd get in from raving on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, because I'd stay out all night, and I'd still want to go out. I'd still be sort of feeling it. And it used to be horrible. I'd have to sit there eating Sunday dinner. Couldn't eat.
Yeah, pushing it around your plate.
Pocketing potatoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to pocket the food.
Really?
And my mum finding ones like roast potatoes and stuff in my gravy in my pockets, and she's thinking, he's gone mad. What's going on? She didn't know I was on drugs.
Yeah.
But it was that kind of thing, you know, just that madness that you're in.
And how did your usage escalate?
it escalated very quickly, and in all sorts of ways. And the warning signs were there, and I just ignored them. I lost a lot of weight. I've always been quite skinny anyway, slim, should we say. I know I'm not, might not look it now, but I'm 44 years old, especially when I was a youngster. But I was very, very skinny, didn't sleep well. And in the end, it got that bad that I ended up in a mental hospital for a little while. And I think that...
How old were you when that happened?
18, I think.
And what was that, psychosis?
Yeah, that was absolutely... it's very vague for me. I'm not trying to be coy. I'll tell you anything. I'll speak about anything. It's just, as a memory, it's very hazy. Because obviously I'm on a lot of medication. I wasn't well.
What was it just before you went into that hospital? What happened just before?
I think I was having conversations and saying things that were just not from a well person. I think people were picking up on that. And then eventually the doctors spoke to me and were like, look, we're going to put you in a place where you can get some proper round the clock.
Was that sectioned or free will?
It was free will, I think.
Right.
I think I know that you should know that, but as far as I know, it was free will. I'm not 100% sure because I remember just sort of going there. I was only there for a couple of weeks, I think, 1 week or two, on a lot of medication. Then they were comfortable with me going back to my mum's house. My mum came to see me. I was having like therapy, medication. 18 years old. It's obviously a very young age to be going through something like that, but it didn't put me off.
No,
it didn't stop me.
I think you're right. I think when I have clients phone me who are young, 20, 21, 22, I always find that a bit of a challenge because I think that's so much part of their culture, their life, all their friends around them use. That's a big decision at that age. I mean, I admire it, I respect it, but it's a big decision at that age to decide that I'm not going to do drugs, I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore.
Yeah, it was beyond me. I couldn't even begin to think about that, to be honest with you, no matter what I went through, no matter how ill I was. Started getting in trouble with the police as well around this time. Got nicked for possession with intent, just cannabis. I say just cannabis, but could have been worse.
Yep.
Got community service. So there's a lot going on around me. This is all around a similar age, so I've been in hospital, doing community service, been arrested, and mum and dad's house raided when I got nicked, which obviously didn't go down very well.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of people talk about nature or nurture, as in nature as in a genetic predisposition to have an addiction, or nurture as in the way you're brought up, maybe a rough environment, abuse, or that kind of thing that can affect you. Do you think you had a genetic predisposition? Because you had a nice lifestyle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I might not have had a lot of money, but there was no dramas there. I wasn't like I was sort of, starving or anything. I had a loving family and didn't really want for too much, to be honest with you. I was a happy kid. But I do feel like there was something there. There was something in me that just made me sort of compelled me to drink and to take drugs and to try and get as out of my head as I could. Yeah. And I wouldn't have even said I was necessarily unhappy or depressed. It's not like I was drinking to forget. I couldn't sort of give you a diagnosis. I just liked getting...
The escape.
Yeah, the escape, yeah, I did. And I just carried that to the sort of the maximum degree and past that.
At your height, what was the frequency? How frequently were you using the drinking?
Probably a little bit later, probably in my mid-20s, early 20s, but every day.
Every day?
Every day. Got to the point where I was drinking and using drugs every day. And I'd
Cocaine?
Cocaine, yeah.
Right.
Cocaine became my drug of choice a little bit later on in life. Yeah. Towards my end of my 20s, early 30s. But then it was cocaine. And then obviously, you know better than anyone, the cost of that. Yeah. It's not a cheap drug. Yeah. It could cost you a lot more money, I know that. But it wasn't a case of, oh, you know what, if you get £10, then you're all right. You've got enough to just go and get drunk or whatever. Cocaine took a lot out of me, it did. And I was doing all sorts to pay for it, I really was.
Oh, that happens. I mean, I had a guest earlier who was talking about, he served up to pay for his own habit. And I see that all the time. I
tried that.
You tried that?
It was a terrible failure as a drug dealer.
Why is that?
Because I just sniffed it all.
You just used your own supply?
I did. Me and my friends tried doing that. I tried doing that and got myself in a load of debt because I wasn't selling enough to pay for my own habit because my habit was out of control.
And what quantity were you using a day at your height?
At my height, compared to some of other people, you might look at it and go, it's not that untenable, but I'd say around about anything between 2 grams to 4 or 5 grams a day, but it's a lot of money.
Wow.
Yeah, when you're on that sort of, in that zone. And there was a time as well when I was working. There was a time where I was a reporter. Yeah. And I was drinking and using, I was a reporter. And I've told this story before. I went to, I never forget, they sent me out first thing in the morning because the police was starting this new initiative of drug and drink testing together. So they used to do drink testing, now they're doing drug and drink testing. Right. And I went down there to meet the police. They were doing like a press conference in the street. I was drunk. I was on drugs. Literally, I'd woke up, I'd had a can of Stella and I'd taken some drugs.
Were you functioning at that point?
Functioning, yeah. Functioning just about. Got down there and the coppers stood where you are to me. Can I have a volunteer? And he's looked at me to take the breathalyzer. And I've got loads of reporters and other police. Can you imagine? And I got nicked.
Did you?
No, I would have done.
Oh, you would have done.
But I literally put my arm behind the reporter I knew and just pushed her towards him.
Right.
And said, she'll have a go. And I made a joke of it. And she did, thank God. But if he'd have breathalyzed me, I would have been positive for everything.
Yeah.
But that was how I was living my life. And
crazy.
People would have looked at him and thought, okay, he's reporting, he's fine, he's working or whatever. I was living in a flat. I was on the edge.
At what point did you realise that you went from functioning to non-functioning?
There's been a couple of moments where life has just got away from me. There was a time when I went to prison. That was pretty much going from functioning.
Were you clean in prison?
No.
I
was at first.
Right.
I went to... I was a kid who's down south actually, so I went to Feltham to Chelmsford.
Oh, you young offenders?
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Feltham young offenders. Yeah. Chelmsford. In Chelmsford, I ended up in a drug-free wing. And then I went to Pentonville and I was using. And then I came out. I always went through these sort of ups and downs, got my life in order a little bit, back to Manchester, things are going okay. Then I sort of, start using heavily again. And then before I know it, my life's sort of spiraled out of control. Got clean again, went to college, went to uni, started reporting, became a journalist, started reporting. And then after that, again, started using cocaine quite a lot. Started sort of, spending all my money I didn't have on cocaine, and that's when it was getting to the point of, I've got to do something about it. Spiraling massively. And at this point now, I'm in my late 20s, early 30s.
Paranoia with it?
Massive paranoia. I spend days in my flat. Days. And what exacerbated it as well is I was growing drugs in my flat.
Oh, you had to grow in there?
Yeah.
Oh,
so can you know the combination?
Can you imagine being off for your nut, paranoid, right, racking it up with a grow in your flat?
In my spare room.
Thinking someone's going to come through the door.
Honestly, any little noise I heard, I was convinced was old Bill coming to raid me. Didn't stop me. And I was paranoid. I stunk of weed all the time. I was going in work. People were saying to me, you stink of weed. I was like, oh, I give my friend a lift. He was smoking weed in my car. I used to say that every day. I stunk, and it's different smell. It clings to your clothes.
Yeah, of course it does.
And that was a disaster as well. We didn't even make any money. It was just a disaster. Everything went wrong. So it was just a horrible, horrible time. But the answer was never to stop using drugs. That didn't occur to me. The answer was just carry on using and just hope it gets better somehow.
You have a great passion for football because you have a YouTube channel. Yeah. You commentate. You're a fan. You're in it, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what correlation football had on your drinking and using.
They went hand in hand. Sometimes the football was secondary. In fact, most of the time it was. So I've been to the game, away days, abroad, watching the football or whatever. Sometimes I've not even seen the game. Not even bothered. I've been too busy getting drunk or twisted or whatever. Cocaine's massive part of football culture. It was when I was going after. I still think it is. I've got friends that still use. It is. And that was the case for me. And it was a good excuse because on the surface, ostensibly, you go out and watch the football.
Yeah. And you're around everybody else that's using.
No one's judging.
So it's like, it's accepted.
Of course it is. You're on the coach or you're wherever, you're in the toilets, sniffing, no one's going, what are you doing? What's this? It's part of that culture. And it was a big part of it for me. And for years, that's what I did. I went and watched the football and just
What was that like then, when you got sober and clean? What was that like going to watch football, like almost with a new set of eyes? What was that like for you?
It reminded me of being a kid when I first went to football. Because when I was going to football when I was 8, 9, 10 or whatever, I wasn't drinking or using drugs. I was going with my dad and just watching the game. It reminded me of that. And it sort of reinvigorated my passion in it. I don't think it's much of a coincidence my career has become more football focused after I got clean. It's always been a big part of my life, football anyway. Yeah. But now it's my career and it's my passion. It's everything apart from my family, obviously. So I do feel like it was kind of like being at the game thinking, you know what? Yeah, I can enjoy the game. I mean, the irony is United, my team, have been terrible since I got clean. But we stopped winning league titles and stopped, challenging for Champions League. But I can enjoy the game more. I'm in the moment.
You're present.
I'm present.
Yeah, that's what it is. How did your addictions impact your professional and personal life?
Well, it put my life on hold for many years. So I went to college when I was 16, 17. I was using then, dropped out, went back, dropped out, went back, dropped out. Got clean through detox and rehab when I was in my mid-20s. So went to college then, And because I was clean, I was sober for a little while, I was able to complete my college course, go to uni, become a journalist, get a journalism degree, become a journalist. So
Did you use at uni?
No, I was clean up until the final year, sorry.
Okay.
Final year. So I was clean.
So you went, sorry to cut you off, but you went for long periods of time of not using.
Yeah, I went from 2006 to 2009 without using. And then again, and around about a year from around 2031. 21, sorry.
2006?
Not 21, sorry, 2011, sorry.
Did you say 2006 to 2009?
Around that time, yeah.
Okay, so 3 years you're clean, right? So talk to me about 2009. How did that relapse happen?
I went to Vegas with friends. In Vegas. Only there for a few days. We went on a sort of little holiday to America, went to San Francisco, went to LA, drove to Vegas. First night in Vegas. 3 years clean, man. I'll be all right. Can I have a drink? Well, I'm all right
now.
Yeah, of course.
I'm all right now. I don't have that addiction anymore.
No, I'm cured.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's nonsense. And the friends I was with didn't really know about my history. They were uni friends, so they didn't know. They didn't say, Jay, man, don't, come on. To them, I was just someone who didn't drink. I had a drink, and then that was it. Then I was back on the sort of path that eventually leads to me being sat in my flat with a girl in my spare room doing sniff every day.
Yeah. It's amazing how fast someone who's had an addiction to then get clean, to go back, how fast they relapse. It's almost like you go back to doing it 5, 6, 7 days a week instantly. Yeah. It's incredible.
It's crazy. And like, it seems to happen like that. Before you know it, you sort of, I've got to this position now. Everything was going so well. And now I'm right back in the middle of it. And that's what happened with me. You know, I finished my uni degree, thankfully. Went back to Manchester. But by this time, I'm not just drinking, I'm back on cocaine.
And at what level of cocaine were you back to? Back to the same
Back to the similar thing, yeah.
Back to the similar thing.
Every penny I've got goes on it. I'm trying to make money elsewhere outside my career to pay for it. Just in a load of debt and just constantly in this sort of spiral, if you will.
What was the final straw? What was the final thing that made you decide, right, this is it, I've got to do something about it?
2004, I went to the World Cup in Brazil.
Okay.
My partner I'm with now, me and her had been very up and down. We'd been together for about a year, on and off. She got pregnant. We got pregnant. I'd already booked to go to Brazil when we hadn't been together, so I went to Brazil. I come back. I've been drinking in Brazil. I come back. She's not well. She goes to the hospital. She loses the baby. And we have these conversations, and it's like, look, are we going to try again? Are we going to, sort of move forward as a family? Or are you just going to carry on doing what you're doing and just go out and get out your head and go disappearing for days on end? And I thought, no, do you know what? I need to sort my life out. I need to be here for her, be here for this family. We already had a little girl. And, try and become a dad and a partner. And that was the sort of the moment that things changed for me. And they have stayed changed. And that was almost 10 years ago.
What do you put down to the fact that they've stayed changed? What makes this time different to all the other times previously?
There's lots of different reasons. I've got a family. I've got 3 kids, 3 beautiful children.
So you've got a commitment.
Got a commitment.
Yeah.
These people look up to me.
Okay.
They respect me to a certain degree. I'm in a loving relationship. I've got a lot to lose, and I'm enjoying my life without drink or drugs. I don't feel the need to go and get drink or drugs in me. I don't feel the need to use cocaine. I don't feel like my life's going to get better or this mood is going to be enhanced like I used to feel if I go out and sniff. And there's a lot to lose, and I know that. My career's going well. I'd lose all that. I've been to Thailand, I've been to Australia, I've been to America with the channel, with my job, sober. I've been in Thailand, sober. 10 years ago, and I'd gone to Thailand. The plane wouldn't have even hit the tarmac before I'd have been trying to get all the drugs. And it's not like they'd have been in short supply in Thailand, you can imagine.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested. It wasn't a risk. It wasn't like, oh, can you handle this? I knew I could, and I did. Yeah. Because there's no part of me that feels like, I just wonder what it'd be like. I've done enough research. I know what it's like to take cocaine. I know what it's like to drink. Don't need to do anymore. I know what happened to me if I take that first drug and that first drink. I'm not going to have one. I'm going to be gone.
Yeah.
And I've got too much going on to even want to do that. And I genuinely at a place now where I don't want to use. And I've paid lip service before, Elliott. You know them ones where it's like, I don't want to use.
Yeah.
What you do.
Of course.
But I don't. So I don't. And I'm, confident and strong enough, and I've got enough people. Good people
it's almost like listening to you, Joe. It's almost like this, right? I've got a loving family. I've got children. I have commitments. I have support. I have encouragement. I have an occupation. And most importantly, I don't need something external to help me feel better internal. I don't need an escape anymore. I'm enjoying my reality. I'm enjoying where I'm at. That's what you're telling me, right?
100%. 100%. And I speak very openly. I do a football podcast, but I've also got another podcast with my friend where we talk about addiction a little bit and other things. And I talk about on the I talk about on the football channel. Everyone knows I'm clean.
Yeah, you don't lie.
I don't
you've got nothing to hide,
no,
right?
No, and I'll put it on social media.
If anything, you want to inspire other people who are struggling.
I was in Australia. We're there on the tour covering Manchester United. We go to a bar for this sort of like event. People coming up to me, Jay, I'm just, when you said that you was 8, 9, whatever years sober, that meant a lot. I'm trying to get there, or I'm getting there. I have messages on Instagram. I have messages of Liverpool fans on Instagram saying like, I get a lot of messages off a lot of Liverpool fans. Some of them aren't nice, but I get a lot of Liverpool fans saying, you know what, Jay, I respect you chatting about that. I'm going through it myself. I'm 28 days, or I'm whatever, or I'm 1 week in, or I'm struggling, or I'm doing well. And that means a lot, man. I feel there is a little bit of responsibility there because I've got a big platform. I've never had that before. I'm trying to blow my own trumpet. I'm on a channel that's got 750,000 subscribers.
Yeah, it's a lot of people you've influenced.
A lot of people, I've got a lot of followers on social media. So if I'm saying something, whether, I want to or not, people are going to hear it. They might not agree with it or whatever, but there is a platform there. So there's a little bit of responsibility. I do feel that. And it's good to sort of get that, not affirmation, but appreciation as well from people. People saying, you know what, Jay, I appreciate that. And thanks for reaching out. Because I always try and reach out as well when people, go into your, you'll have it all the time, Instagram sort of message requests.
Exactly.
I always try and do that.
Yeah, me too.
And I forget. Yeah. Some kid messaged me the other day and he's like, because I forgot I'd rang him. He sent me his number, he's going through it, and I'd give him a ring and said, oh, you're okay, and I forgot about that. And he messaged me saying how much it meant.
It's nice to be able to reach out and help people. I mean, I find it quite challenging because I probably on an average day get about 300 DMs.
I don't know how you do
all on my channel for addiction. And sometimes I'm getting people like 13 years old reaching out, and you're looking, you're thinking, fucking hell, 13, and you've got a coke habit, and you've got no support, no one around you. How are you financing that? Well, I'm doing this and I'm selling a little bit, and he's selling it to his mates, and you're thinking, 13? You should be playing with girls, man.
I was like, my eldest is 13. I can't imagine, even though I've been through it myself. Imagine if she had a cocaine habit.
Yeah.
So this is it. It's this, addiction can get you at any time.
What toll did your addiction have on your mental health?
Terrible toll, really. Obviously, I spent time in a mental hospital, became paranoid for so long, depressed, anxiety through the roof, to the point where you almost don't notice anymore because you're in it constantly. Yeah. So it's not until you get sober and you look back and you think, crikey, how did I live my life like that? That's untenable. It was untenable. But yeah, I was in a bad way for many years. And it wasn't until I really got sober, because you can mask it.
Yes,
you can
mask it.
Of
course.
I was a reporter for years.
Listen, you become brilliant at hiding the fact.
100%. I reported for about 3.5 years, 3 years when I was still using, maybe a little bit longer. And I hid it. My colleagues are journalists, and they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't notice that, hang on a minute, addicts, you're not just going out and enjoying yourself, or you're not just not well. Something going on here. But I masked it. And it wasn't until you get sober that you truly look back and you think, that was horrible, man. That was just such a dark time. And I had a lot of, mental health professionals tell me that, and you either ignore it or you just, you admit it but carry on anyway.
Yeah, yeah. How long have you been sober now, Jay?
It's coming up to 10 years.
10 years,
yes.
man.
Thank you.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Thank you.
What happened to your circle? What happened to your circle, or what I call your tribe, the tribe of people that you're associated with? What happened to your tribe?
Well, I've always been fortunate. I've had a good sort of group of friends, and some of the friends I used to use with, they might use, but not very often.
Okay.
So what I'd do is I'd use them and then carry on using on my own.
Were you the enabler for them? Did you enable them?
A lot of the time, I think we enabled each other, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone was twisting anyone's arms back in the day. But this is the thing, that as we get to a certain age, they settle down, they get kids, they get mortgages, they get careers. I didn't. I was still going through that spiral of sort of going through one disaster to another. But this is the thing, when you've got a lot of friends, it's sort of the misconception we tell ourselves is that my friends aren't going to want to know me when I stop using or stop drinking. They're going to, they're not going to want to know me. But most of my friends were relieved. All my friends were glad to hear that I'd stopped. Because most of the time, they've got to babysit me when we're out because I'm getting myself in a state or whatever. Some of the time, they've got to bail me out when I need money or whatever. A lot of them look at me and they think, you know what, you need help. And they were glad when I quit. There was some friends who were more using friends, just using friends.
Yeah, you never saw them unless you were
Unless it was only about using.
Yeah.
Them friends had to drop out. because unfortunately, you have this idea, don't you, that you get clean, you help them, and you get clean. A lot of the time, it don't work like that. And I have offered and reached out to certain people, but you
have to be ready yourself. You can try and help someone as much as you want, but unless they really, really want to deal with it, you're banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah, I've had it. I've had so many people say, "Come on, man, you got to stop this. Like, let's do this." I had a friend, very good friend of mine, and he literally paid off the dealers where we lived. Paid him off the debts that I had.
He paid your debts?
Yeah. Told him, don't be serving him anymore. Seriously, don't. I just found different dealers.
Yeah, of course.
I threw it back. He moved me in his house. He had a house. His first house he bought with him and his wife. It was his girlfriend at the time. They're married now. His very first house, their house, after it was still being built, moved me into the spare room. They didn't even have a bathroom that was functioning. They had like pipes everywhere to try and get me clean. I threw it back in his face.
That's a friend.
It is a friend, and I'm very, very lucky he's stuck with me. He's my friend, and he's sober now as well, because he was using, and he got to the point where it was getting out of control for him, because he tried to help me and ended up at one point he was using, and now he's I think he's 6 years clean.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you think you missed out on all those years with your addiction?
I think I just postponed a lot of things. I try not to look at it as what I missed out, because when I look at my life now, I think I've got a great family. I'm very fortunate, and if in my life I took a different direction, I wouldn't have the life I've got now, which I'm happy with. But I think I postponed a lot of things. Most of my friends, they've got kids that are older than my kids, because they had kids at a younger age. Most of them own their own houses. I still don't own my own house, and playing catch up in that respect. It's things I can live with. So I just felt like my life was on hold for however many years I was using.
Yeah.
It just kept getting paused, because when you're using like the levels I was, you're not advancing your career, you're not starting a family, you're not becoming part of a loving relationship. I wasn't doing any of those things, where at the same time a lot of my friends who were my age they got to the point where at the early 20s we're all doing a similar thing. We're all tearing it up and all that, but by the everyone's getting into their late 20s, early 30s, they're settling down, they're getting to the point where they start a family. I wasn't. So that's all I feel like I've done. I think I've postponed it a little bit, but I don't begrudge that. I don't regret it. I've got, my youngest is 7 years old. She's amazing, so it is what it is, and I'm happy with that.
Listen, you've come out the other side, and you're focused on the present and the future, and not on the past, and that's a great thing. But if I was to ask you, just for the listeners to wake up a little bit for some people, if you had to put a figure financially, not on what you've lost, but on what you've spent on alcohol and drugs over that period of time, what amount of money would you say that was?
I struggle to tell you. It'd be practically everything I earned for a good few years. And also,
give me a number, Jay.
Okay, fair enough. I'm trying to do some maths here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, maths isn't my strong point.
Okay.
Let's say, 10 years. I reckon it could be around $250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah, I reckon.
That's how much you spent on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I reckon.
How much money do you think you lost from your career that you could have had earlier?
I genuinely think I could have earned more than that, much more than that.
So you lost £500,000 through your addiction.
I reckon so. Yeah, I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility.
I think 200,000 to £500,000 is actually a very common figure for people going through addictions. Yet you don't see it at the time.
No.
Now, here's the funny thing, right? You sometimes think to yourself, I'm not going to go and spend 100 quid on a pair of trainers because that's 2 tickets. Have you ever rationalised that sort of thing to yourself?
100%, all the time. You do that all the time. Like, there's times when I'd never buy anything. Almost, it was like I'd only spend it on drugs. So you'd always think any sort of monetary value you put on anything, you'd put it into the process of how what can I get with that in sort of drug terms. Yeah. So that would always figure.
That's your exchange.
That's your exchange. Your automatic exchange.
Yeah, it's
to the point of I'd basically have the same pair of trainers for ages, or the same wearing. I'd have clothes obviously, but I wouldn't be spending much money on clothes, because why spend some money on clothes and trainers and things when you can spend it on drugs? That would always be my thought process.
Yeah. You still go into the same environments though, do you? You still go to pubs and bars?
Rarely. I'm 44. Lifestyle. I mean, I know you can still go to the pub.
No, I know what you mean. I get it.
Yeah,
You've grown out of it.
Yeah, it's not really my sort of thing. Might go out for someone's birthday or something. Where I work in the middle of the northern quarter of Manchester City Centre, a very hipster place.
Right.
Loads of bars and sort of everyone goes out. And I work with a load of lads that are a bit younger than me. Now and again, we'll go out for someone's birthday. They'll go out most weekends. I don't. It's not.
How do you deal with
thing.
going out with other people around you who are drinking and sniffing?
There's not many times I'll be out with people sniffing, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
But I do go out a lot of the time, but when I go out when people are drinking, and sometimes I'll be pissed. It doesn't bother me. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
Like, my missus drinks very rarely. And she didn't drink for years because she thought it bothered me.
Right.
And I had to tell her, I didn't even notice. And she mentioned it once, like, oh, don't you like drink? I said, you can drink in front of me, it's fine. It's not an issue. But I could never get my head around the way she drinks, because we went to Dublin over Christmas and she had some Guinness. And she didn't have a baby Guinness, right? She said I didn't have a baby Guinness. And when we got back, we should have tried baby Guinness. I said, what is it? It's Tea Maria and liqueur or whatever, or Baileys. So I went out New Year's Eve. We're back for New Year's Eve and bought her a bottle of Tea Maria and a bottle of Baileys, to make some baby Guinness.
Yeah.
Bro, that has been on our side in the kitchen for months, untouched. Can you imagine that?
That's the difference.
Yeah.
The difference is you drank to forget, you drank to escape, you drank for a reason just to completely get paralytic.
Yeah.
She drinks such a small quantity for pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. And she didn't even have me that night. She had it I think she had the first one the other week, but I could never get my hand around, like you said, for all those reasons. Because
it's funny because when I have a patient come to me to deal with alcohol, I'm reminded of a time early 2007. I had this idea to create a board game that taught psychology students how to revise for their exam.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a big project. So I phoned up two colleagues of mine, two professors, and I said, listen, I've had this concept of this board game, and I see these little pieces, brains moving around the board, and 300 questions that would help these students to revise for their psychology degree, right? And by the end of playing this game with other students, they'd be ready to sit their exam. And they went, that's a great idea. So we started creating this board game, drawing the board game out. We had design, started writing the questions, right? And at the time, I had a show in Australia, and I was going out to do a lot of seminars. My family were coming back and forward. And they also had big projects, right? And it kind of got put on the back bench. And I got a place in Spain, just a little boat hole. And I said to these two colleagues of mine, I said, listen, why don't we go to my place in Spain, turn our phones off, be there for 4 days, we'll finish it, come back, the game will go into manufacture. And in fact, the game is now sold everywhere. But let's get to the point, right? So we're in Spain, and alcohol has never been my issue. Yeah, drugs, sure, but alcohol was never my problem, right? And I like food. I like quality food.
Yeah.
So the first night I said to him, why don't we go to this beautiful steak restaurant? So we go to this steak restaurant, and one of my colleagues named Adam says to me, El, can I order a bottle of wine? And I'm thinking, why are you asking my permission? Like, if you want a fucking bottle of wine, order a bottle of wine, right? But I remember thinking to myself, it was 50 quid at the time. And I used to think to myself, 50 quid, like, I don't know. Like, if I bought a bottle of wine for a friend as a gift, I'd spend, I don't know, 10, 15. I don't know if I'm a tight skate, but 10, 15 quid. Yeah. 50 seemed a lot, right? But this is what happened. The waitress came over, she poured the wine, and he did this, and he did that, and he did that, and he did that. Takes a sip, puts it down. She puts a cork in. He puts a cork in. He drank 1 glass of wine the whole evening. He took the bottle home to my apartment. We were there 4 nights. It took him all 4 nights to finish the bottle of wine. So I'm thinking, I've never seen anybody drink like this, right? So I'm on the plane going back to the UK, and I got to ask him. I was turning to him, I said, listen, Professor Adam, just tell me, what were you doing with this glass of wine? He says, El, do you know how many taste buds in your tongue? And I don't remember how many he said, right? I can't remember, but it was like 1,000, 2,000, 7,000. It was a lot. It was a lot, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, so doesn't it seem right and only fair that all the taste buds get to enjoy the wine? And I'm like, okay. He says, I look at the colour, the clarity. I look at the reflections of light on the surface. I take in the aroma of the bouquet. I take a small sip. I put it down. I let go of it. What he actually was telling me was this, and I use this strategy for people with alcohol now. What he was really telling me is he could take a very small quantity but get enormous gratification. Whereas other people who drink, who have a problem with alcohol, they drink huge quantities. So he's got a completely different mindset about his drinking, and that's what your missus has.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good explanation, yeah. Like, she, doesn't drink to get drunk. Drinks because...
She drinks for pleasure.
She drinks for pleasure. She likes the taste of certain drinks, the certain drinks she enjoys, and she can take it or leave it. And she left it for years because she thought it could trigger me. It didn't. And I said to her, no, it's fine. Honestly, I appreciated the gesture and the fact that she wasn't...
Yeah, of course, supportive.
Yeah, she's very supportive. I couldn't ask for a more supportive partner. But I still get a little bit when I look at it and I think, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have a bottle of Tea Maria or a bottle of Baileys or whatever. Or there was a time when I was at my old job. I got given a bottle of tequila for my birthday, And it made me laugh because the CEO of the company gave me this bottle of tequila. And as he's giving it to me, he's like, handed it over, he went, "You don't drink, do you?" He must have seen the reaction.
Yeah.
And I went, "It's fine. I'll, my partner or someone will have it." Anyway, we Googled it because it was a certain type of tequila. Very expensive bottle of tequila. Yeah, very, very expensive. And we were both like, "Crikey, God, it's didn't get touched." My missus like, "I'm not really into tequila." I was silent, and I think we ended up re-gifting it to give it to someone. But it was like, that would have got opened that day.
Yeah.
And it might have been the most expensive bottle of tequila. Would have got drunk that day.
Of course.
I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what it's worth or any of that. It would have got hammered. And yeah, my missus like, "I don't really like tequila, so I'm not bothered." But it's a different mindset because she's not an alcoholic.
Yeah. Do you think that all or nothing mentality that you apply to addiction that you're now applying to other areas of your life?
Yeah, I do. I think I can see those traits. Like, I throw myself into my work, into the channel. Also, do stuff for the family, try and do as much as we can. And I do think there's that approach. Especially now, I'm in a position where there's 4 of us that own the channel together. It's my own business. First time in my life, I've owned my own business. So I know what I put in, I get out.
Yeah.
Because when you're working for someone else, you might have a day where you're just sort of going through the motion. You're still going to get your pay packet at the end of the week. This is different, whereas if you put more work in, if we earn more money, I will physically get more money.
Yeah.
So I do find myself throwing myself. My missus flags it up. She says, you're non-stop. Not in a bad way, not necessarily, because there's times when it's like, just try and switch off for a bit, just try and relax. We went camping last year. I turned my phone off. I had a detox for a week because otherwise
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
I've only ever had that once, and it wasn't long ago. I went to Norfolk, hired just a little Airbnb, and we were there, and there was no phone service. And I think it's one of the first times ever that I can really remember of not having a phone signal. Yeah. And for me, it was incredibly refreshing. We don't take that downtime, do we?
No, we don't. And I thought, you know what? I'm away with the kids, the missus, her mum and dad were there, her sister and her fella and their kids. And I thought, I'd been away with work, and I thought, right, let's be here, let's be present. Let's not be glued to my phone, seeing how many views the channel has got while I'm away, or what.
That's addictive, right?
100%.
That's addictive. It's like you've got one addiction of getting over alcohol and drugs, but you become addicted to social media, to see how many likes, how many comments, what the comments are. That's addictive, right?
I can spend hours on my phone, glued into analytics of the channel, of the socials, of everything, looking at numbers and like, how can we improve this? What about this? What about that? And sometimes you've got to just take a step back and go, hang on a minute, this isn't even helping. It's counterproductive. You're not getting anything out of this. You're not improving the channel by spending this much time on it. There's a limit. And also, I don't want to say, well, I stopped drinking, I stopped using drugs, but I wasn't present in my kid's life because I was too busy glued to my screen constantly, focusing on things that can wait. So that digital detox that week was great. And we always try and make time, even me and my missus. You can forget that sometimes. Like every Tuesday or whatever, when I'm on a late, go for a coffee. Yeah. Go for a coffee for an hour.
Yeah.
It's not the most earth-shattering, wow, amazing thing that you spend an hour together. But no kids, just me and her, going out for a coffee, a little catch-up. It's nice.
So you're putting structure back into your life that drugs eroded.
100%. There was a time when I had zero structure in my life. Nothing whatsoever. My only goal in the morning when I woke up was to use. That was it. There was no other focus. There was no other reason for doing anything that you did. Everything that I did was centered around using, drinking and using. That was it. That was my whole purpose. And now it's different. Obviously, my goal is to try and provide for my family and try and do the best I can in that respect. So, yeah, 100%. I had no focus. I had no structure because drugs took that away from me and addiction took that away from me.
Yeah. I always ask all my guests the very same last question. What advice would you give to anyone listening who is struggling with addiction right now, Jay?
I think the first thing, if they're struggling and they know they're struggling, they've done the first thing, which is admit it to themselves. Because for a long time, I didn't even admit that. Someone's struggling. I could be sat in a mental hospital. I could be sat in a police cell or in a prison cell or in the gutter. And I'd tell you, everything's all right. Don't worry about me. So that's the first step, that you actually acknowledge that there's an issue there and you've got to talk to someone. Speak to someone. The friends and people, you might not have a lot of people around you, but you'll find that the people that care about you will want to help you. And there's help there. There's help, So you sort of spoke about social media. You can reach out. When I first got, not into trouble, when I was first struggling, social media didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. And people sort of are very negative around social media, but you can access help. You can access people if people wanted to see your opinion on it, they can go on your channel and hear it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they would have had to book an appointment with you.
Yeah.
So there is help out there. You just got to speak to someone. Don't suffer on your own. And another point as well I would make is I know this isn't what you asked necessarily, but if you think someone you know is struggling, speak to them. If you've got a friend or someone you can see,
it's funny you brought that point up, because I was going to say this earlier, but I forgot what I was going to say. I had a mother phone me up the other day, and she wanted me to try and explain to her what it's like for her son to have an addiction, right? It's a very difficult thing to explain to someone who's never gone through an addiction. And I said to her this, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but what I said to her was, imagine putting your mobile phone down and not touching it for 3 days. How difficult is it to not go and pick up your phone? Right? I know I shouldn't be on it all the time, but I keep using it. I keep going back to it. Put your phone down, don't touch it for 3 days. Now you're going to know a slight feeling of what he's like trying to resist using. Yeah, because it's really hard for somebody who's never had an addiction to understand. Another analogy I give is like a mosquito bite. I always say, it's like a mosquito bite. You get a mosquito bite and you know it injects a poison, and you know logically you should not scratch the mosquito bite because it releases more poison. And if you leave it a few days, the mosquito bite will go, right? The problem is you can be really focused. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. The moment you forget that, right, asleep, and you scratch it, the itch becomes worse, and then you have to scratch it more and more. And that's like using, right? The moment you go to use, you end up using more and more and more. And the moment you take your focus off not using, then you end up using.
It's a great point, that, because it's like that when... This is one of the reasons why I don't think you can white-knuckle it. You can't white-knuckle it. You know when you say about, I'm just not going to use, I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
What's this thing like that? You're thinking about using.
Yeah. That's the pink elephant, right?
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
Yeah,
Don't think about pink elephant. Don't think about pink elephant. What do you think of? Pink elephant.
Exactly. So if you're this is why you have to I had to get to a point where I did not want to use.
Yeah.
I did not want to use drugs or drink. And that's when I started to get there. Yeah. Because once you can do that, that's half the battle.
Jay, thank you for coming clean with me. It's a pleasure to have
It's
had
been
you.
a pleasure, man.
All
I feel
right,
like I owe you some money or something, because it's been like a therapy session. I really enjoyed it, man.
Good, my good man. Thank you.